You are currently the only person in this conference. You are currently the only person in this conference. You are currently the only person in this conference.
Good morning. चलो ये न्यूज़ पढ़ी हुई है? Supreme Court asks ED chief to quit but backs amendment. So what has happened? It is saying that the judgment, however, reasoned that the extensions in the service were not given at the sweet will of the government. Instead, the 2021 amendments requires the high-level committees to recommend the officers for service extension. So what is the news about? It is about the service extension. हाँ जी, अभी पूछ लो. पॉक्सो, प्रिवेंशन ऑफ चाइल्ड सेक्सुअल एक्टिविटीज एक्ट. या तो क्या हो गया उसमें? It is actually all kind of sexual harassment act that is happening against the child. उसके लिए acts हैं, measures हैं. अगर आप चाहो तो मैं आपको उसका पूरे एक्ट में जो भी उनके फीचर्स हैं वो सारे बता दूंगी. वो आपका इंडियन सोसाइटी में से कवर होगा. पर ये आपने किस रेफरेंस में पूछा? POCSO is Prevention of Child Sexual Offense Act. यही वाला पूछ रहे हो ना? It is all those children who go under this traumatizing event of sexual activities वाला, उनके लिए होता है कि किस offense को they are going to consider it under POCSO Act. ठीक है? Okay, so this was about service extension, and they say that extensions were not given at the sweet will of the government. Instead, the 2021 amendment requires a high-level committee to recommend the officers for service extension. Now, what will this committee consider of? So a 5-member panel composed of CVC and Vigilance Commissioner had to recommend if an ED director was a worthy of extension in service or not. So what is required for you is to cover about ED. और ED क्या है? Directorate of Enforcement. And what kind of body is this ED? ED is a multidisciplinary organization. And what is the work of ED? क्योंकि ED न्यूज में आया है, so what you need to cover the aspects of ED. So what is the work of this ED? So it deals with an investigation of economic crimes and violation of foreign exchange laws. So this is what is the role of ED. What kind of body is ED? It is a multidisciplinary organization. And when was this enforcement unit that was formed? So it was formed in the department of this EU enforcement unit was formed where in Department of Economic Affairs. And what is the role of EU, that is enforcement unit? The role of the enforcement unit is for handling exchange control law violations. And what is the relevance of these units in the present time? Because we are having what? We are having increased number of who? Economic offenders. सुना है ना? क्या? Diamond merchant took loan from here, went away, escaped from here. Then we have Malia who took, then he also escaped. So it is because of the economic offenders who have escaped the country. And what have they done? They are taking shelter where? In foreign land. हाँ जी हाँ जी सबको पता है. Until unless they are in some other country, so the rules are governing in different country are different. So it becomes it's something like you have to talk with the government of that country. So if they permit, then otherwise nahi. They have landed into the safe zone. And कुछ countries के साथ we have agreements. If something of this kind is going to happen, then the country is going to support us. जैसे see when you people have done economy, तो वहाँ पे money laundering and sorry हाँ, so you have done that double tax avoidance agreement DTAA करोगे. So sir will teach you how these countries are being used by the economic offenders to escape taxes, and in some cases these economic offenders, they escape the country and they take shelter in the foreign lands. Okay? So the perspective or the importance of this ED news comes from the fact that you have to cover what is ED, what kind of work ED is performing, what is the role of ED, why we have EU as the organization that is economic unit of this, was formed in Department of Economic Affairs, what is the role, what is the importance of these organizations. Okay? What is the legal row between farmers and PepsiCo? Have we covered this news in earlier times also? PepsiCo? अच्छा, मैंने खुद पढ़ाया है यहाँ पे खड़े होके. See, on July 5, the Delhi High Court held that there was no merit in the appeal filed by the PepsiCo over the patent rights for its unique potato variety. The appeal was against the order that was passed by the Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmer Rights Authority. This is known as PPVFRA. FRA. अब देखो केस क्या है. The PPVFRA revoked the PepsiCo's registration with respect to its potatoes plant variety, that is FL 2027, used in the Lay's chips. कुछ याद आया? Didn't I told you that there are special kind of potatoes that are being cultivated by the farmers? And these potatoes are being told by the company itself. That means Lay's वाले बोलेंगे कि ऐसा वाला potato लाओ या उसको cultivate करो, so that what will happen now? They will use those potato in the Lay's chips. Didn't I told you people about this? For example, there are we are having multiple companies who are providing you with the chips. Right? So does all of them taste the similar? मुझे लगा कोई आगे सामने से बोलते कहाँ सब एक ही जैसे तो हैं. So where is the difference lying? It is on the taste of the potato and of course the spices they are using. ठीक है? So the Lay's is using a different kind of potato and the Uncle Chips में जो use हो रहा है, that is a different kind of potato. So what is happening is that the PPVFRA, that is your Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmer Rights Authority, revoked PepsiCo registration with respect to its potato plant variety, that is FL 2027, used in the Lay's chip on the ground provided under Section 34. And what is that of this PPVFRA? That FL 2027 is a chipping potato variety with low external defects, high dry matter, high solid content and stable sugar, all of which make it highly suitable for the manufacturer of the chips. So now what you need to do, Swaroop बोल तो रहा है कराया. Good morning, Swaroop. Okay, so now what you need to do is that you need to know what is this act about. So it says that the act provides an effective framework to conserve and encourage the development of various plant varieties. Now it established an effective system to safeguard and recognize the rights of the breeders, researchers and farmers to promote agriculture development in the country. So the act is talking about what? Firstly, it is talking about to conserve, encourage the development of various plant varieties. So what you need to know is about this act. What is this act talking about? And the issue regarding this, what are the grounds for revocation? So according to this, the Section 34 of the PPVFR Act, the protection granted to a breeder may be revoked by the authority on following grounds. And what are those grounds? That the grant of a registration certificate is based on incorrect information that is furnished by the applicant. So all in all, what you need to know about is this. Act. ठीक है. Now it says that what can be done or what India is going to do. So it says that India is an agri-based economy with the agriculture having the highest workforce. So multinational food processing companies and investors must prioritize the well-being of the farmer and their rights by developing a comprehensive understanding of India's local laws, particularly the PPVFR Act, and recognized to safeguard and protect its farmer. So they are saying what the multinational companies, your MNCs, what they need to do is they need to take care of farmers' welfare and right. ठीक है. Okay. Now how the CPI basket conceals the inflation price. चलो अब ये बताओ, CPI पढ़ा है? अरे बताओ, हाँ या ना? CPI and have you studied CPI? क्या होता है CPI? पता नहीं. CPI. What are the two baskets in which we are measuring the inflation? Are you didn't heard? Consumer price index. Okay. And what is the next one? WPI and CPI है. And both are used for what? Both are used for checking of inflation. And what is inflation? What is inflation? ये इंफॉर्मेशन और मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन ऑपोजिट ही होती है. Inflation, what do you mean by inflation in Hindi? महंगाई. So what is महंगाई? Yes, it is rate or rate of price rise. And this could be measured how? By WPI and CPI. And which is the correct one to measure? किससे measure करते हैं? अच्छा, this has came in the I guess it was on today is what 15th 12th July को आया था. Why on 12th July? See, it is calculated, that is in this. Now this is calculated based on the products that are present or that they have added in your basket. WPI is about wholesale and this is about consumer price index. So one, any idea what are the products in consumer price index? The products that are included in your CPI basket. Goods and? हाँ, तो उसमें और क्या क्या है? पहला है आपका food and beverages. Now they constitute 45% of your basket. Then are your clothing, footwear. This constitutes 6%. Then are your housing. What happened? Acha. Housing, this constitute 10%. Then fuel and light. अब इसमें आपका आ जाएगा electricity, LPG, kerosene, etc. This shall constitute 6%. Then comes your miscellaneous articles. And what are those? Those are education, healthcare, transportation, and communication. This shall be your 28%. Other than that, they have one more thing, that is tobacco and intoxicants, and this forms 2% of your basket. Now, this is your CPI, that is your consumer price index. Then you have CFPI, that is consumer food price index. Isme what is there, that they will exclude non-alcoholic beverages and prepared meat. CPI, WPI act as important part for your prelims. So you should know कि inflation के लिए there are two methods. Either you measure CPI or WPI or CPI. Go for CPI. Why? Because this is what consumers are paying for. This is the basket. This is the product which are there in consumer price index जिससे नापते हैं. ठीक है? Any issue here? अभी इशू नहीं होता, कल पूछूंगी व्हाट इज WPI CPI, फिर भूल जाओगे. ठीक है? So any issue? Should I move ahead? Okay. Now it is, what is National Research Foundation? आपको पहले क्लास में you have done about NEP, National Education Policy. करंट की क्लास में, whatever class. National Education Policy you have done. So according to National Education Policy, is India planning to have increase the budget for national for research activities, research and development? नहीं? You don't know. According to the National Education Policy of 2020, is the government trying to increase the contribution towards research and development? Now, what is NRF? That is National Research Foundation. The Union Cabinet has approved the introduction of National Research Foundation Bill in Parliament, placing once again the debate on science and technology funding in spotlight. That means this says that what is there in news is about the funding where on science and technology. Even right now I'm doing Indian society ka static portion. Once I'll do the current portion in this batch, you also join. Current section of Indian society. So there I'll be doing all this, NEP, etc. Okay? Now what is NRF about? That is National Research Foundation. So now NRF was one of the key recommendation of National Education Policy 2020. NEP 2020 key recommendation is NRF. Now, what is NRF about? Now, the NRF intends to act as a coordinating agency between the researchers, various government bodies and industry, thus bringing industry into mainstream of research. In addition to providing research grants to individuals, NRF plans to seed, grow, and facilitate research in India's university. That means NRF is trying to do what? Facilitate what? Facilitate what? Facilitate research in Indian universities. That means we have universities, but the course of research is still not prevalent in most of them. So what will NRF do? It will try introducing research on or in the Indian universities. Okay? So facilitate research in Indian universities. And which universities? Especially the state universities, by funding research infrastructure and researchers. So what is NRF trying to do? Is trying to facilitate research in Indian universities, especially the state universities. And usse kya hoga, and how will NRF go about? Now they are saying that we are going to focus on state universities by funding the infrastructure and the researchers. So if a question comes that what is NRF, that is National Research Foundation, and what is the role of NRF? So what are you going to say? That you are saying, you are going to tell that the research activities in our country is still not that good because we have not contributed enough in our past. So what is this body going to do? This body is going to do what? It is the coordination agency that is trying to develop coordination between who? The researchers, the government bodies, and the industry. Okay? And we have got this focused when? In National Education Policy 2020. And how it will go about? It will try facilitating research in Indian universities, because we are having many universities, but in those universities, the research program is not there. Most of the universities, they are not carrying research programs. Okay? So now if you are going to introduce research in your curriculum, it requires a lot of effort. What kind of effort? Last class also we were having this discussion ki, when you asked me in sociology class that, ma'am, how come these people have so much of interest in this subject that they keep on reading for years? Then I told you that they carry on their research. So research kaise hoga? You have to go there, you have to work on certain parts. Okay? And how will this be happening? So this is what government is saying, that this body is going to do what? It is going to fund the infrastructure and the researchers. That means they will be provided with the stipend and whatever emoluments they are being going to have. Okay? So after this, now the question comes, how will it be funded? So the NRF will operate with a budget of rupees 50,000 crores for 5 years. 50,000 crore दिए जाएंगे for a period of 5 years. ठीक है? And of which 28% will be government share and the remaining 72% will come from the private sector. So if you see, this is 100% of your funded amount, of which 28%, that means close to 14,000 crores, is going to come from where? Government. And 72%, that is 36,000 crores. Rupees 36,000 नहीं है. 36,000 crores is going to come from where? The private sector. Now, the NRF draft proposes the government share to increase eventually to 20,000 crore per year. Out of the government share, 4,000 crore will be used from the existing science and engineering research board's budget, and this will be subsumed under NRF. यानी we are having science and board research, जिसके से वो funding are being going to be adjusted. ठीक है, चलो. After this, they are saying what now? However, this increase in the nation's gross domestic expenditure on research and development seems too meager, especially if one compares the GDP and the comparative spending in other big economies such as US, China. Matlab, what is happening is that India is contributing very less in the field of research when it comes to US and China. वो तो पता ही है. You also know, we also know. ठीक है. Now what is happening is, as per the last available stats, India's gross domestic expenditure on research and development was close to rupees 1 lakh crore, while India's GDP was 7.6 and 5.1 times smaller than that of US and China respectively. That means India's enrollment was nearly 24 times less than both these countries. That means our contribution towards the research field is 24 times less than the contribution of US and China. ठीक है. Now for your information, let me tell you that we were contributing 0.8% of our GDP in 2011, and which dropped down to 0.6% in the present scenario. ठीक है. Now, what was the need to bring this NRF? What was the reason that we are working on this National Research Foundation? Firstly, हमारी universities में research activities are not going on in most of the universities. That is the reason we are focusing on state universities. उसके बाद expenditure on research and development was very less. GDP का contribution was very less. उसके बाद the resources were not directed in a proper line. So when we are going to have a respective body that is going to work only for research works, better efforts will be, they think that better efforts will be given. ठीक है? Okay. So one more thing is there, that when it comes to research outputs, what is happening is that in the field of research, we are having only 262 researchers per million of the population. Are you getting the numbers? That is 262 researchers. This is the number we have per million population. So don't you think that the number are very small when compared to a million? That is, a million is 10 lakh. So 260, close to 200 researchers per 10 lakh. Are you able to get the difference? मिनाल समझ आ रहा है? क्या समझ आया? ये तो मुझे भी समझ आ गया. ये चलो अच्छा है. Okay. हाँ बताओ. हाँ आगे क्या है वो? सुवन को सुवन आज सुवन please tell help me. Your friend has forgotten what is WPI. Just now I have told him. मुझे भी बता दो FPI. Okay, let me cover some important news first. उसके बाद we can go. Okay. June inflation quickens to 4.8% as food prices climb. So it says, I was telling you what inflation, you actually measure inflation that is yearly also. And month on month. So retail inflation hardened in June to a 3-month high of 4.81%. What happened? Retail inflation hardened in June to a 3-month high of 4.81% from May's 4.31%, driven by a spike in food price gains due to rising cost of items. कौन-कौन से item महंगे हुए हैं? What happened? नहीं फास्ट वाला नहीं है शायद. अच्छा मतलब मेरा नहीं है. ओके हो गया. अब उससे पूछ लो वो था कहाँ कल. अरे वो Okay, so see the retail inflation hardened in June to a 3-month high of 4.81% from 4.31%. And why? Because of rise in food price. Has the food price gone up? And what is the reason of food price gains? It is due to the rising cost of items. And what are those items जिसकी वजह से your retail inflation is getting high or your food prices are climbing? So the items are your cereals, pulses, milk, tomatoes, and food price inflation quickened to 4.5% from less than 3% in the previous month. So all in all, what you need to know here is that what are the items in which your prices has exceeded. Again यहाँ पे भी आपको पता होना चाहिए what is WPI, what is CPI, what is the basket of CPI that I have told you. ठीक है. And which are the probably items because of which your inflation has increased. ठीक. बढ़ी है महंगाई कि नहीं बढ़ी है कि मैं ऐसे ही टाइम पास कर रही हूँ? You tell me. Minal and so on. Has inflation gone up? Retail inflation. और तुम बिस्किट खरीद के लाए हो, बिस्किट बढ़ी है कि नहीं बढ़ी? This was smart. ठीक है. Okay. Now Solomon Islands and China signs deal on police economy and technology. Now you need to know about what is China planning, what is and why has this thing been done by China, that is deals on police, economy and technology. इसको पढ़ा था तुमने? Leaders of the Solomon Islands and China promised to expand relations that have fueled uneasiness in Washington and Australia about Beijing's influence in the South Pacific region. That means this islands signing what deal with China has created uneasiness in the regions of South Pacific. Now, what is the location of this island? So, the Solomon Islands are 2,000 kilometers northeast of Australia, has been China's biggest success in campaign to expand its presence in South Pacific region. That means the deal that has been signed by China, you must be knowing it, Suvan. Read it about Solomon Islands? Nahin? Okay, tell me why, if China is going to sign this deal with Solomon Islands, what is the reason behind it, and why is Washington and Australia getting uneasy? क्या हो गया? Trade? Only trade? Any idea? See, China is increasing its influence in the region. And if China is focused on increasing the influence in the region, what is going to happen? It will try capturing these islands or try having control over these islands. So what is going to happen? The security of the other countries will be, or secrecy of the other countries will be at constant check. So trade can be one of the reason, but not the only reason. Okay. Other than that, what they are saying is that the Solomon Islands signed a security agreement with Beijing that might have allowed the Chinese military force in the South Pacific. Now you see, when Chinese military force are, they are allowed in the South Pacific region, what is going to happen? The governance of the other country will be checked. Kaise? Because they will have what? Constant eye on the other country and islands ke regions. True? So it will hamper the security of the other countries, and China's influence is increasing day by day in the regions. अभी हम लोग पढ़ेंगे कि how Dalai Lama, one second, okay, how Dalai Lama's presence is also a hindrance for China. China is trying to suppress Dalai Lama. Okay, so here with geography purpose, you should know where Solomon Islands are located, what are the reasons, and what kind of agreements China is signing with the Solomon Islands, what influence it will create to the other regions if these deals are being signed. Okay? Okay. Global, हाँ जी, किसको? It's an independent one. In the regions of South Pacific, it's an independent one. जैसे आपके ये स्प्रैटली आइलैंड्स है, पारासिल्स आइलैंड है, बट इट इज क्लोज टू चाइनीज रीजन एंड द रीजन्स ऑफ साउथ एशियन कंट्रीज, बट ये सेपरेट आता है एंड दैट इज द रीजन। उन्होंने कहा ना कि लीडर्स ऑफ, देखो मैंने बोला था लीडर्स ऑफ द सोलोमन आइलैंड्स, ठीक है। लेट मी कवर दिस वन with this one, वरना फिर see, this is also the news of China, and why am I covering this with the previous news? Because here also China is trying to exert pressure on Dalai Lama, ठीक है। तो अब क्या है इसमें, China on Monday protested the meeting between the Dalai Lama and the officials of Central Tibetan administration, with visiting US official in New Delhi calling it an attempt to interfere in China's internal affairs. Where is Tibet? What is the influence of, or what do India has to do with the regions of Tibet? And why is so China worried with Dalai Lama having the meeting between the officials of CTA, that is your Central Tibetan Administration, along with the US officials? Now, in this, they have said that ahead of the meeting, the Dalai Lama, who arrived in Delhi on Saturday, said that Tibetans did not seek independence and he was open for the talk with Chinese government, which he said had sent feelers to him. Now, Ms. Zia, who is the US Under Secretary for Civilian Security, Democracy and Human Rights, and also the US Special Coordinator for Tibetan Issues, met the Tibetan leaders and the officials of the Dharamshala-based CTA on Sunday evening. Now, what was this about? So, it attended the Dalai Lama's 88th birthday celebration organized by the Office of Tibet. Now, why is China constantly on protest? It says that China firmly opposes any form of contact between the foreign officials and the Tibetan independence forces. So, you have done IR, no? History of Tibet. What is India's influence, or what is India's stand for that region? क्या हो गया? क्या? हाँ. See, India's actual neighbor was Tibet. हाँ. फिर हाँ. हाँ. हाँ हाँ, मतलब सही बोल रहे हो. The point is that if India has realized or recognized China's influence in the region of Tibet, so what is India's stand at present? Because the meeting has been happening with US officials in the regions of India only. So what is the history behind this? So India has provided refugee to Dalai Lama. This is what you are saying? Yes, that's true. So the history of Tibet. The history behind the Tibet goes like this, that India's actual neighbor was Tibetans. And as you said that India provide refugee to Dalai Lama. So one history एक ये भी है कि refugee to by India. What else? Now, India recognized the control of China over Tibetan region. Why? Why aren't you speaking? I know IR नहीं किया हुआ है. She's like, this is not my topic. पंचशील principles हैं. इसके लिए नहीं. See, it is just a commonsensical point of view. For example, if some country has got a control over a region and you are the neighboring country, why will you have war with that country if that country is your neighbor? So what happened was that in the history in 1954, what was happening was that Tibet or this region of control by China was recognized by our country or the then PM because we didn't wanted to have any war for that sake. For the maintenance of peace in the region, हमने उस चीज को मान तो लिया था, but what happened was that even though we recognized China's influence over the region, the friction still remained between China and India. So in order to avoid the friction, we actually recognized Chinese influence over the region, but that's kept on still persisting. ठीक है. अच्छा, अब what is China's say over Dalai Lama? What do you think China's say over Dalai Lama? You have done IR, na? Why aren't you speaking then? Yes, speak. Hip hip hooray. See, China is constantly saying that Dalai Lama is actually trying to split the motherland. अब वो तो कहेगा ही. Now, when it comes to China, then Dalai Lama is trying to split the motherland. When it comes to them, then we are trying to maintain what? Unity. So it all depends upon what? On your personal benefits. So what they are trying to say is that presence of Dalai Lama is creating what? Splitting of motherland. And China is saying that all this is happening for what? All these acts are actually lobbying against China. So this is China's say over Tibet. Now, what are the recent developments that have happened? You people have a little bit idea about how China is trying to influence the region of Tibet? देखो पहला इन्फ्लुएंस क्या करेगा, like in your IR, if you ever want to influence the control, what you need to do is just start the infrastructure development over the area. ठीक है, तो let me write here. So what is China actually trying to do? It has started the infrastructure development over the project, and this infrastructure development is happening where, in the regions of Tibet. उससे क्या होगा, they have started influxing Chinese over here. So influxing the Chinese population here. अब क्या हो रहा है? See, some other country is trying to do infrastructure development in your area and is trying to push the Chinese population over there, or for that matter, any of the population of that native country. So what is going to happen? Ultimately, what they are going to say, or what they are trying to say, that this region is ours because our population is here. ठीक है, so one development that has happened in this region is infrastructure development. Now US role has also been questioned by the China. Why? Because US has been, or US role has been constantly been increasing. And कैसे? Now here US has provided refuge to 30,000 Tibetan refugees. ठीक है, और जैसे इनके पास जैसे दलाई लामा है, वैसे दे आर हैविंग Karnapalama. The person name is Karnapalama. जैसे Dalai Lama is representing the region from the Tibetan. So now US is also increasing the role by providing refuge to 30,000 Tibetan refugees. And when Dalai Lama is going to get sidetracked, तो ये क्या कहेंगे? Karnapalama is from the region here. Yeah. दलाई लामा इज हु? तिब्बतन रीजन को फाउंड कर रहे हैं. सो जब दलाई लामा को अगर चाइना साइड कर दे रही है, सो हु इज गोइंग टू कम हियर? यूएस अपना ये भेजेंगे. हु इज ही? कर्नापलामा. And who is this person? He is one from here who has been provided refuge from the Tibet, or provided refuge to the 30,000 Tibetan refugees. So are you seeing? नहीं, one from here. Why from you? US is providing refuge to 30,000 Tibetan refugees. So he is one from in this 30,000. Any doubt? Suan, are you understanding? So basically this is what? This is international politics that is happening. ठीक है, वो मतलब, और उससे क्या होगा? The influence of US will increase in the region. ठीक है, और हाँ, other infrastructure development में what has China done? It has created dams. It has created more of Tibetan villages. So development of Tibetan villages. ठीक है, partial app bans, ये कर लो, ये ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. Okay, so the global south origins and significance. Now, the term global south is not geographical, rather the usage denotes a mix of political, geopolitical and economic commonalities between nations. That means जो global south they are saying, they are not saying with respect to the geographical location of the countries, but actually what a mixture of political, geopolitical and economic commonalities between nations. Okay, so why is this global south so much into the news, or why are we reading the global south news, or what they mean to say about the global south origin and significance? देखो अब अगर इसे मैप में देखोगे, so you see the global south region they have covered is this one. ठीक है. Now the question comes, the need to address the challenges with the developing world, and what is the challenge with respect to the developing world, because the global south origin में you are having the majority of the countries. And if you see the map out here, it is the African region, some of the regions of here, then it is India and China and your Arab worlds. Now, what does the term global south refers to? The global south refers to various countries around the world that sometimes are described as developing. So it means, what are your global south countries? Developing countries. So, are you understanding? You? Why? Aren't you understanding? मतलब things are clear. See, 1 hour 30 minute की क्लास में I can't go with the detailing. Detailing मतलब कि what is going to happen, या फिर what is the significance they are going to create, वो चीजें आप detailing या तो मतलब जहां से भी कर रहे हो, या फिर जो ये लोग current affairs दे रहे हैं, ठीक, वो आप उससे करोगे. Why I am here? I am just here to tell you कि news what important थी, ठीक है, और टॉपिक इश्यूज किस किस चीज के लिए रेलेवेंस थे. फॉर एग्जांपल सोलोमन आइलैंड्स इज समथिंग इंपॉर्टेंट फ्रॉम योर ज्योग्राफी पर्पस. दे कैन आस्क यू अबाउट द लोकेशन. दलाई लामा's इशू इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज ऑफ तिब्बतन रीजन. ठीक है. ग्लोबल साउथ कंट्रीज आर विच कंट्रीज? दे आर द कंट्रीज विच आर रेफर्ड एज अ डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज. ओके, सो दिस इज इंपॉर्टेंट. और हमने क्या किया? हमने WPI CPI किया. दैट इज अगेन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. Now that is very important. Why? Because हमारी प्राइस हाइक हो रही है. और किस लिए हाइक हो रही है? बिकॉज आवर फूड प्राइस आइटम्स आर इंक्रीजिंग. ठीक है. सो लाइक बी अ वेरी लर्नड पर्सन, तो आपको ऐसे पता हो कि या प्राइसेस आर इंक्रीजिंग, तो हमारा कंज्यूमर प्राइस इंडेक्स भी इंक्रीज हो रहा है. दिस इज द रीजन व्हाई इन्फ्लेशन इज इंक्रीजिंग. व्हाट आर द प्रोडक्ट्स दैट आर देयर इन द बास्केट. ठीक है. नाउ ग्लोबल साउथ में, या वेयर वाज आई? द ग्लोबल साउथ रेफर्स टू various countries around the world that are sometimes described as developing, less developed. So countries that are described as developing, less developed, or underdeveloped. हाँ जी. हाफ ऑफ रशिया नहीं, मतलब इनका ना यार बेसिकली फोकस इस पे डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज, जस्ट बिकॉज कि आप ज्योग्राफी पर्पस से ना जाओ. दैट मीन्स इफ यू सी द ग्लोब, तो मेजर लैंड कॉन्टिनेंट आपके नॉर्थ में आ गए, तो आप कहोगे मैम साउथ में फिर कौन है? Okay, so south में what they are saying is global south are referring to the countries which are developing. Like मतलब अगर आप ऐसे देखो chain में significance में, so these are, this is the lower portion and this is your upper one. So this is what is referred as the developed countries and this is referred as your developing. नहीं, some of the regions will. I didn't say continent. I said countries. So when I said countries, अगर आप lower में जाओगे तो what will be there? There will be underdeveloped, then will be your less developed, then will be your developing. So what they are referring is that this is called as global south. Understood? Minar? ठीक है. अब when they are saying this that these are your countries, so what they are saying is that yeah, many of these countries are in the southern hemisphere, that is largely in Africa, Latin America. And why they are, see, अब इन्होंने continent कौन से दिए हैं कि countries that are coming from your Africa, Latin America and Asia. So your countries are coming from these regions. अब इन्होंने यूरोप नहीं बोला है. Why? Because Europe is developed world. ठीक? So why we are considering these countries? In general, they are poorer, have higher level of. अब reason क्या है? They are being considered as global south because they are poorer. They have higher level of income inequalities. And they suffer a lot of lower life expectancy. So these countries are having lower life expectancy and they also have harsher living conditions. So if you want to know whether your country is coming or is a part of global south or not, so these are the parameters based on which you are going to define whether the country is a part of global south or not. If you go with New York, so New York is probably not. Why? Because एक तो poorer नहीं है, ठीक है, इनकम इनइक्वालिटीज नहीं है, मतलब होंगी बट द टैलेंट विच इज देयर दे आर पेड. ऐसा नहीं है कि इट गोज अंडरपेड. ठीक है. इनकम इनइक्वालिटीज, लोअर लाइफ एक्सपेक्टेंसी एंड हार्शर लिविंग कंडीशंस. ठीक. So these three continents that we have heard, and so what they are saying that countries from these three continents are basically the countries which are posing what, which are having the place in global south region. ठीक है. अब now this is about global south. Now who are the global north? Now global north में it is the richer nations that are located mostly in North America, Europe and some additions in Oceanic and elsewhere regions. So वही है, this is global south. Global north में you are having regions that are from where? Regions that are from your rich and developed countries. ठीक है. Now going beyond the third world, the term global south appears to have been first used by the political activists. So all this term of global south has been coming from the political activists. ठीक है. Now what is the reason we are discussing this, or why we are discussing here? Because see, India is one of the developing country, right? So India has a lot of potential if we compare it with other global south countries. Why? With respect to India, this global south is carrying what significance? Acha, with respect, see, India is also a part of global south. ठीक है, doubt नहीं? And India has the potential to grow also. ठीक है? Who is the major threat to India's potential? वो तो चलो चाइना की भी है. अच्छा, India, if India is growing, can any country put a check on India? Neighboring country China ही है. China is giving tough competition to India, and with respect to what? And why is it doing so? To restrict the growth of India. और कैसे कर रही है? It has started many infrastructure development projects in the neighboring countries. उससे क्या होगा? So as to exert influence over Indian region. Right? And why is this possible? See, if India is growing at faster rate, what is going to happen? At some point of time, India will start. Even today, India is representing the South Asian countries. चाइना का तो इमेज वैसे भी थोड़ा गड़बड़ हो रहा है, काफी गड़बड़ हो गया है. ठीक है. So there is there are many, or there are high chances that China is going to do what? China is going to restrict India's potential or India's development. और ये कैसे होगा? देखो, we are having competition from China. Goods को लेके भी होता है. Their goods are cheaper and most of their goods are being dumped in here. Why? Because of cheap rates. और यहाँ पे Indians are also purchasing. Suban, are you understanding? So most of the goods are being purchased by the Indians. Why? Because of cheap price. So पहला competition जो पहला is China's competition of goods, right? Then what is happening? India is having closeness with US. So that is also a point of contention or a bone of discontention between China and India. अब आप कह सकते हो कि India is an independent country. What has China to do with it? But then China always has what? A competition or rivalry with US also. For what purpose? To become the supreme leader, or in the race of becoming the number one? सारा कोविड जो हुआ. Okay, so China's competition of goods in the Indian region. Other than that, why is China so worried? Because of influence or increasing proximity with US. Okay, so this becomes a bone of contention. Now we are having also what? Bilateral relations with other countries. नहीं है? We are having bilateral agreements or not? All this is creating what? Or all this is making what? China insecure. ठीक है? So why did I did this with you is because ग्लोबल साउथ का what influence it is going to have, yeah, what influence this global south countries are going to have, and what is the role of India with respect to other countries, and how come India will enter the status of developed countries, and is it possible for India to gain the status of developed country or not, and if it is possible then why, and if it is not then why, and what are the potential threats that India is facing. So most of the threat that India is facing is with respect to the China. ठीक है? Okay. Bad loans at record low, but write-offs still in mix. What do you understand by this? What do you understand by bad loan? थोड़ा तेज बोलो. कवर नहीं होते मतलब? Okay. So bad loans, what will you consider NPA? What is NPA? अरे full form. One. Ask your friends. What is NPA? It is non-performing assets. Or when will you call any of the asset as non-performing? Or when will you declare that asset as non-performing? One second. World Trade Organization, Crown Agency Principle. See, if an asset is not providing you any return in the form of the principal amount from the day it was kept to the 90 days of period, 90 days, तो वो क्या हो जाएगा आपका नॉन परफॉर्मिंग असेट. So for 90 days or after the 90 days, this is being reported as principal, yes, with respect to principal or interest. अगर वो प्रिंसिपल नहीं देगा तो इंटरेस्ट कहाँ से दे देगा? Principal amount will be given back, then it is known as, oh sorry, if it is not giving principal amount or interest, it is referred as non-performing assets. मतलब अच्छा हाँ ठीक है, वो सही चल रहा है. If you are getting the interest back, then it's okay. It will not be counted in bad loan. The asset which is not going to give you any value, that is not even returning you the principal amount जो आपने लोन लिया है, then it becomes a non-performing asset. For example, जो आपने जैसे कोई एयरलाइन आपने खरीदी, ठीक है, अब आप उसको बैंक के पास उसे पेपर्स रख दिए, ठीक, अब वो एयरलाइन ही कोई नहीं खरीद रहा है, तो the loan that was given by the bank और द प्रिंसिपल दैट वाज गिवन बाय द बैंक वही आपको नहीं रिकवर हो पा रहा, सो इट हैज टर्न्ड आउट टू बी अ नॉन परफॉर्मिंग असेट। ठीक है, क्या वो बैड लोन्स में कंसिडर हो गया ना, फिर इसमें दिस इज गोइंग टू बी कंसिडर्ड एज और टू दिस विल बी कंसिडर्ड एट सम पॉइंट ऑफ द टाइम कि ये आपका जितना भी लोन गया था खराब हो गया है, यू कांट रिकवर इट बैक। ऑक्शन वॉक्शन देखा है, जब बस ऑक्शन लगता रहता है, अरे कुछ तो ले जाओ यार, कुछ तो दे जाओ, वाई, पूरा खराब होने से अच्छा है कुछ मिल जाए। ठीक है, सो बैड लोन्स, इसमें यू नीड टू नो व्हाट इज बैड लोन्स एंड एट रिकॉर्ड लो बट राइट ऑफ स्टिल इन मिक्स, दैट मीन्स बैड लोन्स कम हुए हैं बट राइट ऑफ्स आर स्टिल देयर। ठीक है, 5 minutes आर लेफ्ट, मुझे ये कवर कर लूं। नाउ रेस्टोरिंग द वर्ल्ड ट्रेड ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस क्राउन jewel. Now, the member countries of WTO managed to hammer out a face-saving deal. And what was that deal? India played a vital role at Geneva Ministerial Conference, thereby keeping faith in trade multilateralism. So, what is the reason why this is in news? Now, the US reapproaches the appellate body for judicial overreach and exceeding its assigned institutional mandates. Now, आप ये मुझे बताओ, what is the role of WTO? अच्छा, WTO जैसे उन्होंने बोल दिया वर्ल्ड ट्रेड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, firstly you need to know what what are the things WTO is dealing with. So WTO was formed back in 1995 and it was इससे पहले जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन थी दैट वाज नोन एज GATT. And what are the services that WTO is dealing with? The services which WTO is dealing with is your goods and services, your intellectual property, goods, services, intellectual property, dispute settlement, trade monitoring. That means it is actually involved in what? Trade monitoring also. देखो, I don't know whether you people know about it or not, but इसमें सबसे बड़ी चीज, you people have heard about protectionism in economy, tariffs. What is tariff? %100% import duty. ठीक है, then what is subsidy? See, in economy, you should know these terms when I am telling you about WTO. One is your what is protectionism, what is subsidy, what is tariff, and what is quota. Quota is something you, for example, if India has given a quota, that means now we are going to purchase only 100 cars or, what, say any of the, मान लो आप इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स के इक्विपमेंट्स ले रहे हो, ठीक है, यू आर परचेजिंग इलेक्ट्रॉनिक इक्विपमेंट्स, ठीक है, नाउ एप्पल व्हाट यू आर डूइंग, यू आर परचेजिंग इट फ्रॉम आउटसाइड, मतलब यहाँ पे भी इनकी है बट इट इज एक्चुअली कंसिडर्ड एज अ ग्लोबल कंपनी, सो व्हाट यू मेक इट अ पॉइंट, और इफ इन केस यू आर टेकिंग कार्स, so what you are going to make a point that you are going to purchase only 100 cars a year from outside, rest of the car will be manufactured in your country. So that is referred as quota because you have fixed the amount. ठीक है, now if there is a purchase, if there is a manufacturing of article that is happening in your country and you say कि in this product you are going to use 50% of our own product, means our Indian national product, so what is that? That is a kind of subsidy. ठीक है, तो if there is a contract that is taking place, that these kind of products are being manufactured only in our homeland or in our country, that is known as what? Protectionism. क्योंकि फिर जब आप, if you are going to manufacture a product here, you are going to make a product here, you are going to use what? Our devices, our things. So ultimately it will help in boosting our economy. So these are some of the practices how you influence the trade of your country. And by having the practice of protectionism, by having the practice of quota, tariff, subsidy, etc., you are influencing the trade over the region. This is trade related subsidy, na? That is a subsidy that you provide to people in order to check poverty, etc. ठीक है? Subsidy in the sense, this is what I told you. For example, you are going to manufacture a laptop over here. A branded laptop is being manufactured over here. So what we are going to say that you are going to get a 50% rebate in your, in your product only if you purchase the articles that are being manufactured over here. कोई भी semiconductor devices, chips, etc. ठीक है? Any issue? और एक और न्यूज है, that is dangerously fanciful. Now this is actually about the defamation. टाइम खत्म हो गया, बट मैं आपको बता दे रही हूँ. See, what has happened is that if you people have got the freedom of speech and expression, right? Freedom of speech and expression, that means you can say whatever you want. But in case if you are saying something which is defaming the other person, then the other person can automatically file a case against you that this person is speaking, that is whatever this person is speaking is actually defaming me. Okay? And that is coming under your article 19, which is providing you freedom of speech and expression. इसी में आपको 19(1)(2) मिलेगा, that actually restricts you from speaking what? That other person is or your speeches are defaming the other person. Okay? Now what has happened is this has got a bit of political angle, so you don't need to read it entirely, but you need to know what defamation is. And why is this in news? Because the opposition person spoke something against the current government, and that person was being brutally treated. So now what is being said is that it is dangerously fanciful. That means you are trying to exert or you are trying to sound defamation like a horrific crime. बोला ही है ना? There could be some charges for that, but that shouldn't be associated with what? Criminal, being a criminal. ठीक है? तो इस वजह से आपको ये आर्टिकल 19 इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाएगा, that you have to cover about freedom of speech and expression. ठीक है? Any issues? Okay, thank you so much.